Welcome to Ovary-Acting, your ecosystem for all things women, where we take your health and wellness seriously, but ourselves, not so much. I'm your host, Dr. Jennifer Ashby, clinician, acupuncturist, researcher, and your guide through this female journey. Why are we doing this podcast? Because you deserve a life revolution, one where you feel informed and empowered, but also where we can discuss and laugh at the ridiculousness of it all. This is a place where we call out the elephant in the room. So if you want some smart talk with a wink, stick around because we're about ready to shake things up.
Dr. Jen Ashby, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
Now, what's really cool is that as we were doing our introduction, you were letting me know that, hey, I'm not at my normal office or in my normal situation, my normal environment. I'm at a client's home. And I'm like, oh, okay, no problem. And you're like, so I might need to step away to pull some needles and things like that. And I'm like, oh, wow. She is literally walking the talk, everyone. So Dr. Jen just came from the back. I guess she pulled some needles out. Let's talk a little bit about that, because this is kind of cool. You're doing what I do, which is you show up to people's homes if necessary, so you can do the work when necessary, right? So let's talk about that.
So first of all, it's really nice to be here and nice to meet you. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I still see clients after 30 years, and I do it in 3 different venues. I have my private practice. I have the patients that I see at UCSF, University of California, San Francisco Osher Center, and I do home visits for people that need me there, and that is where I am now. And our intake portion, which normally takes about 30 minutes, took longer today because that's what this person needed today. And then I said, hey, listen, I have a podcast interview. Do you mind if I step into your office? So she was very gracious, and
That's
here
beautiful.
I am.
That
Yeah.
is truly beautiful. And I another thing that I thought was pretty cool. So usually I try to do my due diligence by researching the guest that's coming onto the show, especially if I don't know the guest well. Then it's a really fun time for me to kind of find out who you are. And I do my internet sleuthing. And so I go to your website, in which you're offering courses. I thought that was really great. But one of the first things that caught me by surprise in a pleasant way was this beautiful intro that starts whenever you go to your website. And I think it's something that we're going to have, that precedes this episode, but it's one of those things that was enough to kind of stop me in my tracks. So it's very effective, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Good.
But could you please explain to people? So let's assume that they didn't see that clip. Can you explain to people how you came up with that? And, I would assume that it's over your years of experience in your practice and just living in life. I would assume that this compiled this video, but could you explain some more of that so the person who's listening and watching right now, they get a better sense of who you are?
Sure. It's a big loaded question.
Yeah.
I'll make it concise. So I practiced East Asian medicine, but I also have a clinical doctorate. So I get to kind of meld the ancient wisdom, but my heart of hearts, I am an acupuncturist through and through. And I say that acupuncturists are the OGs of integrative health. We are the original licensed practitioners that incorporate every part of integrative medicine. And so over the years, what I found was happening was that I was telling people to do the same 8 things, but I was tailoring it to their diagnoses. So for the past, 11 or 12 years, I basically only see really medically complex patients. At UCSF, I work predominantly in oncology, women's health, and nephrology. In my private practice, I still have a general practice, but the complexity of my patients was getting more complex. And what I realized is that people were looking for guidance. They wanted a toolbox. And I have this, I'm going to just say I have a little bit of a superhero power where I can take the concepts, theories, notions, and principles of East Asian medicine, and I can put them into Western terms without bastardizing the medicine or somehow diluting the message. But when you talk about qi, yin, yang, blood, kidney qi, kidney jing. Like, I imagine that I have that like 90 seconds in an elevator with everyone. And when you fold too much of that in, people just glaze over because they're very deep concepts. And people don't know what they mean. Why would they? So I started figuring out ways of using the same concepts with different terminology. And then I found myself repeating myself a lot with additions and subtractions, depending on someone's diagnosis. But the real core that came up with the Epic 8, so I'm an expert in a genetic kidney disorder called polycystic kidney disease. And what makes me an expert in that is merely that I have an approach that is unique and effective. So polycystic kidney disease is a familial genetic disorder that you never know when it's going to hit, if it's going to hit, or at what rate it's going to progress. And it creates these giant cysts in your kidneys.
Mm.
And I had a PKD patient, polycystic kidney disease, and she was doing everything perfect. She meditated perfect. Her type and level of exercise was perfect. Her diet was perfect. Like I had nothing to contribute to her. And so I thought to myself, I need to understand what's happening with this disease beyond East Asian medicine's definition of it. And I remember where I was. I remember I was on my bed. I know where the sun was shining, where I had this aha moment when I actually studied what the effect of this genetic abnormality was on the structure of the kidneys itself. And the moment I realized, wait, Chinese medicine has theories for everything that happens here. I wonder if I created a Chinese medicine initiated lifestyle, if I could slow down or stall the upregulation of this bad gene so that people weren't afflicted with this disease earlier in life, or if I could slow down the progression once people were already afflicted. And through that patient zero, I started developing, and it's been like 8 years now, the Epic 8. So these 8 things can be tailored no matter what you're facing. It's not a one size fits all at all. I don't sit there and tell you what to eat necessarily, but I start with how to think about eating, how to hydrate. So there are 8 things. I'll just go through them: diet, hydration, sleep, breath work, constitutionally appropriate movement and exercise. Into that, I have 4 different types. Gut health and bowel movements. And then to those 6 essentials, I add 2 practices: the practice of finding joy and awe every day, because the research on its effect on our innate immune system is irrefutable.
Uh-huh.
And also tools to not embody stress, which is not the same as not having stress. This is modern life. I'm not an idiot. But it's to be learning how to differentiate an inconvenient email or an awkward social situation from being chased by a saber-toothed tiger. And within that framework, also trying to instill the notion that you are valuable and lovable, not tied into your lovability, and value is not tied into your productivity, which we are just jammed down our throat that these things are synonymous. They are not. So within this framework of these 8 things, whether somebody's looking for a tune-up or whether they've got cancer or polycystic kidney disease, these things can be fine-tuned to a person's specific needs. To some people, they're like, well, God, that's so basic. But I challenge your audience to, are you sure you're eating right? Are you hydrating properly? How's your sleep? Do you practice deep breathing every day? How's your exercise? Are you like getting off of a stressful job and going to spin class? Like, where's the restorative part, right? You only get so long to stick jet fuel through a Volkswagen engine, right? So teaching people how to pay attention to signals of their body, signal mapping, So I challenge people, like, when you have those 8 mastered, then you're doing a good enough job to specialize, to get the expensive supplements, to focus
Mm.
really down on your exercise, but there's no fad that's going to work for you. If you're eating like crap, you're dehydrated, you're sleeping like shit. Sorry, sleeping
Please.
not well.
Hey,
you know,
we like curse words here. It's okay.
okay. Breathing shallow, only doing like high intensity output exercise, um, powering through bloating and gas and indigestion, either having diarrhea or constipation, not sharing meals with community, finding yourself stressed out all the time, and like not laughing constantly, like even at the absurdity of life, like joy or going in nature and being in awe of what you're actually witnessing. There are so few of us that have these basic foundations down. And I found that there was such a great need that I created an entire world around it.
I really love that. I love the way you break it down, and I love that it's called foundational healing, right? Or it's basically not creating necessarily a blank canvas, but creating the perfect canvas to be able to then apply paint to, or whatever you want, right? And
Yes.
because having a blank canvas could be still a shitty canvas, right? It could be old, it could be withered, it could be whatever. But if we're setting ourselves to have the perfect foundation, then, like you pointed out, we can add in all the other things. But people want to jump to the other things first and foremost, and then they think, well, this is either crap or it really works. But in reality, we need to focus on our foundation first. I love that.
Have to.
Yeah.
So my favorite analogy for the Epic 8 is that nobody builds a house from the second story or the roof first,
Mm,
right? And there's no shortcuts and quick fixes.
that's right.
So the Epic 8 are the foundational work. It's the foundation and the walls and the plumbing and the electrical. And then from there you can build as big of a house as you want, or maybe stopping there is enough. Like, you feel so good when you're hydrated properly.
Right.
And another thing I do is I teach I teach medical literacy and lifestyle competency. So
Mm.
I can tell you to drink water all day long. But Josh, if I look at you and from your hair down to your toenails, I tell you every function in your body that relies on your proper hydration, it is no longer me telling you what to do. It's you having an understanding of the importance of hydration to your overall health. So I do that with food and with water, right? Oh,
That's
it's-
that's
oh
why
yeah.
that's why I wrote this book called The Awareness Shift,
Tell me.
because the awareness shift is somewhat similar to your framework, in that I found 5 things that was kind of a constant in my world, and those 5 things kept coming up all the time. And so I broke it down into 5 pillars for optimal health and wellness, the way that I was seeing it in my career.
Mhm.
And one of the first ones is quality awareness. So a lot of people would think, well, surely, Josh, you're going to be like high on your list is going to be exercise or diet, right? Because I'm a trainer and I'm a health coach. But it's like, well, first and foremost, we need to understand that we even have the capacity to change. And then we have the ability to set the foundation. And that's from awareness perspective, right?
Yeah.
And so then
Yeah.
the rest is like icing on the cake, is what I say, right? If we all understand how to build a cake, you start with your recipes, you mix them all together, you set the temperature right, you have the right tools, and then you hopefully get this beautiful cake that comes out if it's set in there long enough and at the right temperature. And then you put the icing on it, right? And that's what I consider exercise or movement, right? And what
Mhm.
I love that you add that maybe I could have put more emphasis on in my pillars is the joy part of it. Now
Mm.
I consider I get joy out of movement, not necessarily because I separate quality exercise and quality movement as 2 different things, right? And so I was kind of in line with you, or a lot in line with you, in alignment, when you were talking about how you have 4 different types of exercise, you called it, right?
Mhm.
As soon as you said that, I was like, okay, she gets it. She gets it because
Yeah.
I've said this so many times on this show, but it does me no good, none of us any good, if you have a cup that is empty because you've gone to work and you've had a stressful day, and then you get home, you have a shitty meal because you didn't have anything else to eat, and then you go and exercise on top of that. Well, what's going to happen to your quality of sleep? You don't have any more room to pull from the water. Or you're pulling from somewhere else, right?
That's
And
right.
so we fill up this cup, hopefully, with things like being quality aware, having joy in our life, eating well, sleeping well. All these things matter. And so, anyway, I digress. I appreciate you breaking that down.
You are not digressing, in my opinion. You just brought up some really, really, really good and incredibly valid points. So this idea that self-care is selfish behavior, and I want to demystify this. Yes, you can have selfish behavior everywhere within the, the money grab in the wellness industry. I'm not into navel gazing and just right for too long. It creates people that leave shopping carts in the middle of the grocery store aisle. Like I live in Northern California. There's way too much of that.
Yeah.
But this awareness, so self-care, selfish behavior is when you're doing something and you are expecting the effects of it to stop at the tip of your own nose. It's only benefiting you. Self-care is actually a responsibility, first to yourself, then to your family and your partnerships, then to your community, then to society, and ultimately to the planet at large. And here's why. When we are paying attention to the signals, the symptom mapping, the awareness of what our body's experiencing, and we can then make adjustments. For me, the Epic 8, for you, the 5 pillars, we are actually filling our vessel first. It's just like being on an airplane. You put your own oxygen mask first so that you can then help the people around you. We cannot continue to pour from an empty vessel and expect to avoid disease and mental health issues. So it is our responsibility to make sure that our foundational wellness is taken care of through awareness of what we're feeling and a belief that we can make change and shift, so that we can then become better participants in relationship and family and community and society and the planet at large. Because when we don't, we end up taking so many resources with chronic disease. Almost every single chronic disease is avoidable through lifestyle.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So you did not digress, in my opinion. I was like, you're preaching to the choir. Taking the myth away from the idea that all of this is self-centered behavior is wrong. I actually believe it's our responsibility to learn how to take care of ourselves. And then we're also really good role models.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And taking care of yourself doesn't mean you're not taking care of the other people that you love. It just means that the burden component that eventually will come up is reduced to the greatest of our ability.
That's right. That's right. And also what we decide to do with it, with this newfound vitality, right? It's like the people who usually feel really good and are living quality lives by doing all the foundational Epic 8 frameworks. This is most likely a person that is doing very well in their career, most likely doing very well at home, most likely doing very well in all aspects of their life. And so these are the people I want to be around. Not to say we can't be around those who don't fulfill that, but to your point, it's like, why not provide a good example? Be a good example. Yeah.
One of my greatest challenges is like, how do I make this important to the mother who's working 3 jobs to support 4 kids? Right. And because I don't believe that good health should be bougie, I believe that it's a basic human right. And without bringing in the food industrial complex and all the things that we can't change, I think the important message to me is that all effort counts in this game. So if all you can do is take out the juice and the soda out of the fridge and make water a goal that is a positive thing for you and your children, that actually counts. So all effort does count in this game. It's not about perfectionism, right? Perfect is the enemy of good, right?
Yeah.
And so all effort counts. There are measurable, consistent outcomes to putting forth this effort that you and I have both found separately. And what I have found is they are these. You have stronger immune system. You have more stable moods. You avoid disease, or you have better outcomes to treatment of disease because you're not adding to the toxic burden. And in my own clinical experience, it is the best chance you have of avoiding recurrence of disease when possible. And the last part that these things do is they upregulate good genes and they downregulate bad genes. So there are predictable outcomes to the efforts of learning how to focus on your wellness and health.
So what do we say to, or what would you say, I guess, how would we speak to the person that feels like the example you created, which I think in today's world, we do all have a lot going on. Let's face it. A lot of us have a lot going on. And not to try to compare one person to the next, because our own worst problems are our own worst problems, right? So, but what do we say to the person that feels like this is just too much? I went on Dr. Jen Ashby's website and I saw that there's no way I could afford that program. Or I hear Josh talking about all these different supplements and all these different gadgets and things like that. And I just don't even have the time to even think about that. What do we say to those people?
I'm so glad you asked that question, actually. A couple of things. One, I always give 10% of everything I teach away for free. So if anybody needs a scholarship, we have a certain number of scholarships that we can give away. And beyond that, we'll give discounts. This has to be accessible to everybody. This isn't about me getting rich. Two, this notion that all efforts count. I always have free stuff that I give away that's always going to benefit you. But to the people that are so busy, they're like, I just can't. You do these things anyway, every day. You eat and you drink and you sleep and you breathe. You would be amazed at the slight tweaks that can, over not a huge period of time, I say 10 weeks, can make such a huge shift in your body. But there's a risk, and this is a risk I love. Once you know what makes you feel better, you can never not know.
Ooh.
So when you are betraying your own self and your own wellness, ignorance is bliss is for a reason. You don't know what you don't know. But once you know that when I don't drink enough water, my sleep's going to be poor because my brain's not, lymphatic system, I'm not detoxifying my brain. My body's dehydrated, so I'm going to be grumpy and tired, right? You can't unknow this information. And I'm sure in your book it's the same. Like, once you create the awareness that shift is possible, when you are denying yourself what you've learned, you just can't. It's the evolution of self-care and knowledge. Like, we grow into it and eventually that becomes the norm. And our neuroplasticity is undeniable. Right? You have your 5 pillars. I have my Epic 8. My husband is in the mental health industry, he has medical ketamine clinics where they do an amazing job. He has the 10 non-negotiables. Like, within each field, we find what is essential to help people feel better. And because neuroplasticity takes, what did they say, 9 to 12 weeks to make something a habit. So what I have to say is, start with what you can. What can you do? Is it the water that you can do for yourself and your family this week? Just try that. Just remove the chips, right? Just get the walk in. Just get off all your screens an hour and a half before bed. Like, always start with what you can. If you try everything at once, it's never going to work anyway, right? You need small successes along the way. So pick with either what you think you can do or what's bugging you the most, and go from there.
I like how we have very similar outcomes in the way we think, but we deliver our message in slightly different ways, which makes us all unique, right? Which I hope that makes us all powerful in our own rights. And one of the things I leverage those statements that you just said, I leverage that a lot in my clients, like with my clients, especially from a health coaching perspective, because there's this idea of self-limiting belief, also imposter syndrome.
Oh God, yeah.
Right. And
you don't go through that, do you?
I mean, come on.
I do all the time.
I'm going to say, I think we all do. I kind of hope we all do, right? Because that's a little bit of humility in that as well.
Absolutely.
But it's interesting that the self-limiting beliefs paired with this sort of imposter syndrome potential is something. For instance, my father, he passed away 2 years ago, and he was morbidly obese. And throughout his life, I had helped him to lose weight. In fact, two different times before he passed, I helped him to lose over 100 pounds, 2 different times. Now, keep in mind, there's a lot within that. It's probably why I do what I do today, probably why I'm so passionate about what I do, maybe subconsciously and a little bit consciously. But also, I have to think about what my father was thinking about as well, right? What he was feeling, because his son is this quote unquote, I'm using air quotes for those who aren't watching, but his son is the world's most amazing trainer and health coach, yet he can't get his own shit together.
Yeah.
Right. And then when he did started losing weight, he was getting attention that he wasn't really prepared for. Everyone was all of a sudden talking to him about how good he looked and what is he doing and all these things. And so that when he fell off the wagon a little bit, when the number on the scale wasn't working properly, when, I mean, to be honest with you, can you imagine? My dad was so big by the time that he last checked into the hospital and he sustained a fall, he was over 500 pounds. He's like 507 pounds. Okay. So this is not a person that is just constantly overeating to the way that most people would probably think. But this is the person who has to go to a feed store to weigh himself because a regular scale wouldn't work, right? So now you pair all of that with this self-limiting belief and imposter syndrome, because now all of a sudden when he feels like he can hide his pain on his body, right? Now it's all being exposed. And so I had to, hopefully I would think that I did everything I could in my power to understand that and have a real conversation with him. And let's forget about all that. And let's talk about what are the things that you want to do? Let's give you some hope in life. And things were going well. And, and then certain things happened in the hospital that ended up keeping him in the hospital for 2 years, which obviously is kind of like, that's the end, right? When you can't actually get out and move and do all the things that we are designed to do within this framework of Epic 8, then of course it's kind of a downhill trajectory, unfortunately. So anyway, I get on this path of like, not everyone is going to come at these approaches in the same way, because we all have our own story. We all are dealing with so many things. So I think we should all be a little bit more sympathetic and empathetic to everyone's situation. And I can tell you are. I can tell you very much are. But to the person that's listening that thinks that this is way too far, way too much, just give it a shot. Just give it a shot.
Just a little bit. First of all, I want to say I'm really sorry for your loss.
Thank you. Thank you.
And it also really points out how much obesity is it's not a dietary issue. It's such a medically complex situation. I have a patient right now. She just lost 253 pounds. She is at 198. She lost more than half of herself. And our work right now is for her to look in the mirror and say, I am worthy of being beautiful.
There you go. Wow. It touches me in a way that you can't imagine. It's like, yeah.
It's a very complex thing. I think health is very complex. And I think we live in a society that it doesn't really, mainstream society tells us to be all these things, but you go to the grocery store and any major grocery store, there's no food in there outside of the meat and vegetable department. It's all fake food. It's just, we live in a crazy world, and that it's cheaper to buy that, like that engineered fake food than it is to buy real food. I mean, we're all working at a deficit here, right? Nobody's alone in this effort. I mean, I grew up in Appalachia. Like, I moved to California. I was like, your corn and your fruit has no flavor. Like,
Well,
what's going on here?
soil erosion.
Yeah, I mean, the issues are complex.
Yeah.
Obesity is its own special complexity, but for effort, I think that little efforts can elicit great change that are noticeable pretty quickly. And it's not, like you said, just about just going to the gym and working out really hard and losing that extra whatever pounds. It's about, making sure that after work you have a nutritious meal and that you move your body. You don't have greater output. Maybe your big output exercise is on the weekends where you have the time and space and energy for it.
Yeah.
My 4 exercises are cardio, strength training, flexibility and balance, and what I call yin exercise. It's one of the few times I use Chinese medical terminology. And yin exercise is movement that gives you back more than you put out.
Oh, speaking my language.
Yeah, right on. So it's a walk in the woods, a walk on the beach, a stroll where you look up more than down, right? It's replenishing, it's taking in surroundings, if your surroundings are nice, or just the feeling of accomplishment for like taking that walk after a meal to get your glucose levels down. If you're like borderline diabetic, like there's so many little things to do that can have such huge impacts. And I think that industry does not promote that because they make money in the specific, right? Like the bullseye thing that's going to do it. And it's a lie.
Absolutely, it is. It's, what's interesting? I hope that when people are listening or watching shows like this, I'm hoping that they create visuals as we're speaking. And this is, I think, the reason why it's helpful for me to create analogies so people can paint pictures. But what's interesting is when you mentioned walking in the woods and walking on the beach, it was as if my body smiled. My being smiled because I have this image of being barefoot, especially on the beach, maybe not as much in the forest, depending on where you're walking, right? But I talk a lot about foot health and how it connects to the body. And being that you're an acupuncturist, I would imagine you also relay a lot of information around meridian points. And whether you talk to your clients about this or not, I would love to at least bring some idea of your perspective around foot health and acupuncture and meridian points and how certain, because let's just face it, I'll add this in there. I talk a lot about how modern shoes and our lack of movement has really pulled us back and it's not really propelled us forward. And so there's things that we can do, right? Mainly like taking off our shoes and being more barefoot, getting that grounding and earthing connection, if so. But then there's also things we can do at home, acupressure, massage. It's like we don't hear people talking about, especially guys, we don't talk about getting foot massages unless we're being creepy, right? It's like, so like, why? Yeah. What is your perspective on that? I know it was a lot.
It's funny you should bring this up. I can look at my older patient population's feet and tell you their overall health.
I bet.
I mean, not because I'm looking for like other things that I look at in a tongue. I'm not looking at skin mapping, but how healthy they've kept their feet tells me a lot about their overall health, right? Their ability to display their toes, the health of the skin. Like there's so much. Have you ever looked into the history of shoes?
Absolutely.
Okay, so it just feeds into classism.
Yeah,
right?
of
If
course.
you don't have to walk around barefoot, you're of a higher class.
That's
The
right.
more uncomfortable the shoe, the higher the class you are because you don't need to go far. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. So foot health right? The ability to walk outside without going, ooh, ooh, ow, ow, like having a little callus, that's good. The ability to open your toes, the ability to have the skin between your toes be healthy, to have your toenails and the skin around your nails to be healthy. This is a sign of how you're actually caring for yourself.
That's right.
So I can look at people's feet and know generally how they've been caring for their own selves. So I've never talked to anybody about this before, so I love that you're bringing it up. In terms of Chinese medicine, three of the yin channels and three of the yang channels either begin or terminate at the feet.
There you go.
All right. So it's the bladder. Let's see if I could do this. Bladder, stomach, and gallbladder are on the outside of the ankle and the foot. They go all the way up the leg. And on the inside of the feet and on the shoulder, the kidney, spleen, and liver.
Bingo. So
when I have people, I do a lot more foot stuff when people are going through chemotherapy, because chemo-induced peripheral neuropathy is a real problem. I teach them how to use their own body, their knuckles, and pretend this is your foot, right? To get into the heel, into the arch of the foot, in there, and to go in between each toe and wring them out every day. To keep the circulation flowing, to help reduce the effects of chemo, the neuropathy caused by chemotherapy. So I'm trying currently to learn how to get my big toes to move independently.
Yeah.
I've gotten nowhere, but I keep trying it.
Well, keep on trying it, because it's not, it's one of those things where even if you aren't successful in the way you want to be, the fact that you're trying it is very, very good.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say there's a thing called toga or toe yoga that you could try, which is literally moving those toes up and down. And there's different strategies on how to improve upon that. And I teach this a lot.
That's great, because it really does it increases balance.
Yes.
As we get older, we'll reduce falls. I mean, I'm almost 59 years old, right? Like, I'm starting to think about this shizzle.
Well, listen, first of all, if you're not watching this episode, then you're missing out, because when she says she's almost 59, it's like, yeah, right. You look really good. So you obviously you're doing the work.
Thank you.
You're living by the Epic 8 and more.
I'm trying, and I have to work hard every day too. I'm not an absolutist.
Yeah.
But thank you for that compliment. But I think my husband and I are starting to think about, like, okay, let's start thinking about avoiding falls in 15 years through our feet, and through balance. So balance and flexibility being one of the 4 types of exercise, and foot health is in there because balance and foot health is important.
So early on, I loved how you mentioned that you needed to find a way to sort of westernize or somewhat simplify the concepts. And so you explained very well what that simplified version is. But I'm a little bit curious, just because of the audience that we speak to here on the show, I'm a little bit curious, like, what it would have sounded like had you not come up with.
Oh, I love this question. Okay, so the foundational concept of why we do the Epic 8 is because we have something called prenatal chi and postnatal chi.
Okay.
All right.
Here we go.
Here we go. So fasten your seatbelt. So prenatal chi, or kidney jing, it's called, has jobs. It is responsible for our growth and development and how we age or decline. I don't like the word decline, because I don't think we are actually declining. I think we're actually where we're supposed to be, aging, right? It's not about, like, I hate the idea that in order for someone to be aging well, they look younger than their years. Like, it's okay to look, right? Anyway, well, that's another episode. So, so prenatal chi is responsible for your growth and development and how we age. It includes our genetics, but it's not only our genetics. And then we do have to tap into it for everyday life, for things like emergencies, recovery from surgery, childbirth, right? Those are appropriate uses of prenatal essence, jing, or energy. I use the word energy often as synonymous with chi, but that's a really poor way to do it because chi by definition can't be measured and energy by definition can. And so we don't even have a word for chi, right?
Yes.
So prenatal chi has this job. And the thing about prenatal chi is it's finite. When we use it up, we all die. And the only people that can replenish it are monks on mountains. Like the average, you and I, we cannot replace our prenatal jing, no matter, in essence, no matter what we do, we just can't. And the weird thing about it is that we can use that prenatal chi in everyday life, but we can never give it back, right? It's a loan that can't be repaid. How do we do that? I'm going to tell you in a second. How do we utilize it inappropriately? Okay, so we got prenatal chi, and then we've got postnatal chi. And postnatal chi is amazing because it's infinite. And it's infinite because we can replenish it every day. And this is the energy that we use for activities of daily living. And when I say chi and energy, I mean physical, emotional, and spiritual. Okay? Because that's the holy trinity of Chinese medicine. There is no terminology to separate that because that is a whole human. All right. So postnatal energy can be replenished every single day, and we should, because that's the energy for activities of daily living, our emotional balance, our spiritual wellness. And how do you think we do that? How do we replenish that chi or energy for every day? Diet, hydration, sleep, breath work, movement, and exercise, gut health and bowel movements, joy and awe, and not embodying stress. Sound familiar?
Epic 8.
It's the Epic 8. So the goal is to nurture your body appropriately every day so that you have enough spiritual, physical, and emotional energy to get through your days. When you are not, and you are pushing through because you're tired, because you're grumpy or anxious, you have gut symptoms that you're pushing through, whatever it is, when you're just pushing and pushing and pushing through, and you're not replenishing postnatal chi appropriately, where do you think that energy comes from? The prenatal chi.
That cannot be repaid.
And over time, it causes disease. So postnatal chi is infinite because we replenish it. When we replenish it right, we avoid disease. We have better outcomes to treatments of disease. We try to avoid recurrence. Our moods are stable. Our immune systems are strong, and we upregulate good genes. So
wow.
It's all about chi, how you spend it and how you replenish it. Chi. And we don't even have a word for it in English.
That is also very interesting because I grew up in martial arts. And so my dad developed this system called American Karate System. I've talked about it at length on this show before many times. But it's interesting because as a young boy, I didn't know what chi was, but we used chi all the time during martial arts. I mean, we use chi throughout life, obviously, but like especially in karate.
You focus it, yeah. And it's intentional use of chi.
Exactly. And it was one of those things where, to your point about there is no word for it, and even if there was a simulation of a word for it, like chi, right? Like it's, as a kid, you either have it or you don't. You can try to find it. And then when you find it, like you said before, it's like, now you know the power that you hold. And sometimes that is too much, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But it's interesting because like once you do find it, then you realize how to move through life. And that's what I experienced at a very young age.
That's intense.
Yeah.
And beautiful and intense.
Yeah. So I like how you and I can relate on many different planes, and we probably didn't even realize that before we called, but I think we met for a reason.
I think so too.
And I do find it fascinating because as a young kid, I remember my dad would say, "Come on, boy, use your chi." Right? And
you're like, I don't know what it is, but I'm gonna try to cultivate it.
Yeah, like, am I a superhero that's like trying to draw something in? Like, what do you mean?
Daddy, where's my super suit?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So in martial arts, did you have the 70% rule? the Taoist kind of 70% rule. Like you never expend more than 70% of yourself, because if you do, you close out both the ability for creativity and opportunity, and you deplete yourself ultimately.
I haven't heard it explained in that way specifically. However, because my dad's system was a blended system, we did borrow from the different styles in the way that they kind of come to that point that you talked about. And one of the things that we really honed in on was using energy to our benefit. So as in, someone else coming with a lot of aggressive energy can be used, right? You can flow with that energy. So it's like we learned how to flow with energy. And I guess you could say that's also conserving, but I do specifically remember my grandmasters and my dad, who was my sensei. And I do remember them saying, like, when you start off with, like, whether it be fighting, because we would do point fighting and things like that, it's just like, don't blow your wad, so to speak. I mean, it didn't say it exactly like that, but
same thing though. It's the same thing. Or use the energy that's coming to you, like you shift it and manipulate it in your favor and against your opponent without actually expending more energy.
Redirection.
I'm not talking about using your life against people, but what I'm saying is that no matter what's thrown your direction, to find a way to flow with it so that it's not draining you. I mean, we all have to work. Like, there's things of doing that, but like, try and find meaning in work. You know, it's anyway. There are ways. There's one more thing, another myth that I want to dispel, and that's the myth that acupuncture hurts. Some acupuncture does hurt. I'm not gonna lie. I am not one of those acupuncturists. I don't like pain. So I went in search of acupuncture that doesn't feel like the way I was trained, because it produced so much anxiety in me to get treated that I ended up not wanting to get treated. And I found that I found Japanese style needling, which is smaller needles and more of them with a gentler touch, a gentler hand. And that's the kind of acupuncture that I actually perform on people. So you can have acupuncture that hurts, and there's people that believe, like, well, if it doesn't hurt, it's not effective. And that's been based on their experience. My clinical experience is that it doesn't have to hurt to be effective at all. So ask it, like, if you've never had acupuncture and you want to go see an acupuncturist, ask them, like, what kind of needling technique they have.
I'm very happy you broke that down. I'm very happy you did that, because I have had many different types of acupuncture. I didn't realize that why some of them felt way easier and better than others is probably because of that difference, which is great to know.
And technique, just we all have different strengths in our fingers. The other thing I wanted to let people know is that acupuncture is not a magic bullet. There are no magic bullets. Like, you have to partner with your own body, right? Like, I have people that come and they're like weightlifters and they want me to fix their shoulder pain. And I'm like, really? Like, while you keep doing the offending factor, like, I can't magically make that better. But it's the same with long-term health as well. Like, partnering with your body and partnering with your East Asian medicine practitioner. I say East Asian medicine, whether it's Korean, Chinese, or Japanese, like to be all-inclusive. So you have to be a partner. Like, nobody can fix you. There's no magic in those needles, and we are not magicians. Like, it's a partnership, and it's usually a long-term relationship.
Well, I think it's worth touching on, just kind of piggybacking on what you said about how it's not a magic bullet. I agree with that. I would also like people to understand, well, what does it do? Because my understanding is that a lot of acupuncture methodologies is built around the fact that I think usually the needles are conductive, so it helps the channels to open and creates this conductivity that our body needs. But sometimes it gets stagnant, it gets blocked because of trauma or whatever. You're the expert, so could you please explain that better than I did?
That was actually really good. Okay, so and I didn't ask, do you go by Josh or Joshua? Because I like calling people Josh. Okay. So that is one way that acupuncture works, is goes in and if you've got a Pandora's box lid tied tight, you know, acupuncture is going to open your body up and that lid's going to open. So like people that have trauma backgrounds and stuff, you're not always sure what's going to come up. Make sure you have some support for afterwards. So there are different kinds of acupuncture for different reasons. Orthopedic style really just goes in there, creates little micro traumas, stimulates collagen production, reduces inflammation, does things to get muscles to unspasm, bring fluid and, healing, like properties into joints, whatever that happens. That's orthopedic acupuncture. Then there is constitutional style acupuncture, which is basically you come in, we read your pulses, we look at your tongue, we talk to you for a long ass time. And I always say, if you let a patient talk long enough, they're always going to diagnose themselves. And if the basic, even for orthopedic acupuncture, if we all can agree that a body, when it can and given the opportunity, will return to a state of homeostasis or balanced physiology, then you absolutely understand the entire concept of East Asian medicine.
Beautiful.
And acupuncture is like knitting with one hand. I mean, Chinese medicine includes, oh my God, there's all the physical modalities. There's acupuncture and tuina and shoni shin and gua sha and cupping, and I'm sure I'm leaving stuff out. There's herbs. There's all the lifestyle stuff that we're trained to teach people in. And then there's acupuncture. So acupuncture is like one part.
I'm sorry to cut you off because I just wanted to remember the name. So you said there's orthopedic acupuncture, and then did you say constitutional?
Constitutional. So orthopedics would be like an injury, pain, something going on. And often in there, an acupuncturist will also be treating you constitutionally. But we are all out of balance somehow. Right. Like one of the biggest red flags to me is when a 50-year-old man or woman comes and sees me and their tongue and their pulse feel perfect. I'm like, that's a red flag. That means their chi is rising because something's wrong. Right.
Ooh.
So yeah, we are supposed to be in balance. Like there's a part, but then also doing things in life to try to rebalance. In East Asian medicine, there's the concept of preservation over reclamation. So you keep what you got instead of running to try to get it back. So, and I'm writing a book right now for Wiley Publishing on menopause using modern science and ancient wisdom. And there's the whole thing about, holding on to what you got and that what you're moving through is a natural season. It's not a pathology. Not all imbalance is a huge pathology, but big imbalance over a long period of time, it would be considered. Once something is symptomatic, gut health, headaches, whatever, that didn't just appear. Right. So it takes a while to become symptomatic. If we start learning symptom mapping, which is basically like, wait, I'm tired and then I get a headache, or I'm really anxious and then I get palpitations and then I have diarrhea. Like whatever the symptom mapping is, you can start learning how to take care of that stuff yourself. And every East Asian medicine practitioner in the world can help you with that. So constitutionals that everybody reads, imbalance, things like yin deficiency, yang deficiency, qi deficiency, blood deficiency, qi stagnation, blood stagnation, there's all kinds. And then every combination of those things, excess cold, excess heat, wind, dryness, dampness. I mean, there's so many things that can happen for so many reasons. And acupuncturists are trained in treating it all.
Have you heard of this tool called the recovery pen?
No, what's that?
Okay, we should maybe we'll talk offline about it, but it's this cool tool that I've been testing, and it's basically there's a red pen and there's a green pen, and they're gold tipped and they're magnetic, and the red one is designed to create this sort of infrared energy, and the green one is supposed to elicit negative ions, and the two together, because they're magnetic, the two together create this magnetic field apparently. And I've been using it And it's really cool because I'm not an acupuncturist, so this is why I wanted to see if you have any experience with it. But maybe I can put you together with the company just to see if it'd be something you could look into, because a lot of people are finding great benefit out of this simple at-home tool. And there's this PDF that I have that I don't know if it comes with it or not, but it goes through all the different points and it uses the 5 elements, water, wind, right? And so, and it's from this ancient practice. And apparently the group of guys that I've been working with, they took over this technology from a guy, I think a Korean guy. And it's really, really cool. And I thought, if I had the skills of someone like you, like imagine what I could do with this, but it was just curious. I was just curious.
Yeah, I haven't, but the technologies, listen, it's coming even for East Asian medicine, right? Like we are an empirical medicine that came into existence through observation over thousands of years, and it's still relevant.
Absolutely.
Right. But technology's coming for it. Technology's coming for all of us. Keeping ourselves relevant on what's out there and working, I find, is an actual responsibility of mine.
I hear that. I really hear that.
Yeah.
This has been such a wonderful conversation. And I'll start to wrap up, but I definitely want to make sure, because like you said before, we have a great responsibility in knowing what we know and being curious enough to know that we don't know everything, but we will continue to work hard to stay on trend and beyond, right? But like, is there anything else, at least in this conversation today, that you would like listeners to know about or to hear from you?
Yeah. I mean, I think if I were to summarize everything that we just discussed, I think it is in the statement that everything affects everything. And to think otherwise is really faulty. Everything we do to ourselves affects every other part of ourselves. Everything we do to ourselves affects the people around us. So I think that intentionality in our existence is actually a really important part. And that might be a really foreign concept for some, or maybe many, I don't know. But I think that clinicians and practitioners and coaches like you, like me, there's so many of us out there. For anybody that's stuck or looking for like coaching and guidance, I think that it's out there, and it might not be as hard as you think. If you just remember that everything you do affects everything else.
Yeah.
You are one whole person. It's impossible for it not to.
Very well said. And you said that with a smile, very eloquently. So thank you for that. How can people best get in touch with you? Because I know you got a lot of things coming out, and we talked before recording, and I know some things that you're really about to like blow up for. So this is great. But I'd love for you to maybe mention how people can find you, maybe on social media, but also your courses that you offer. If you could just rattle that off for me, please.
Sure. So my website, www.drjenniferashby.com. Doctor is just DR. Can find all my, well, not all, but most of my past talks, the Epic 8 course, even a direct email if there's questions. I'm terrible at social media, but I do have a Dr. Jen Ashby on Facebook, Dr. Jen Ashby on Instagram. And I have been very quiet on there for a minute as I'm writing this book and getting this course did. Again, hopefully those other things that we cannot yet name. But I'm back.
You're back.
And I'm super energized. It's a great time for me. And I'm here always to answer any and all questions. I don't believe in not being reachable within reason. The Epic 8 course, I find that people don't really abuse it either. People are so exquisite and respectful, and we're all so clumsy and awkward. Like, to just remember we're all going through this together.
Yep.
But I'm accessible. My class is coming out. There are scholarships available. You can find how to do that on the links in my Instagram. There are. It's also available full price.
Yeah.
Make that clear too. And yeah, my goal is to help as many people with the information I have as much as possible, as long as I can.
Well, we will definitely link to all of that in the show notes. So for those of you who maybe didn't get a chance to write this down, don't worry, just check the show notes. We'll have all that stuff available. And I'm hoping that we have you back, because with some of the things that you have coming out, especially the book and some of the other things we talked about, I have a feeling we're going to be talking to you again. So I'd love to have you back.
I would love that.
Yeah, thank you for your time. I don't take it lightly. I know you're a busy woman. Continue doing the great work, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you so much. What an honor to be here with you.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Peace.